Order this meeting of the Economic Development Advisory Commission. Ms. Lewis, could you please give us a roll call?
Chair Guiche.
Here.
Vice Chair Zimmerman. Here. Ben Leparn. Martha Lewis.
Here.
Tasha O'Neill.
Present.
Wendy Reisinger.
Here.
Morgan Wilson. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we're going to start with item 1A. That is the approval of the minutes. Approval of minutes from June 24th, 2025. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review those so I can entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
That was an aye.
Thank you. I heard you, Martha. All right, the motion's going to pass. Item 2 is call to the public. Comments from the public. Those wishing to address the commission should fill out request forms in advance. Comments from the public will be restricted to items not on the agenda with the exception of those on the consent agenda. There will be no comments allowed that advertise for a particular person or group. Comments should be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. The commission may not respond to speakers during the call to the public. The commission may direct the staff to study the matter or request that the matter be placed on a future agenda. Lisa, do we have any calls for the public?
There were no calls to the public.
Perfect. We are going to make a change on our agenda. We're going to jump over 3. We have a couple of city staff that are gracious in coming to give us some information today. So we're going to skip over to item 4A. The City of Kingman's social media policy. Commissioner O'Neill requested the presentation on how the City of Kingman handles social media. City of Kingman Communications and Marketing Coordinator Sarah Hall will share the social media policy for the city. This is informational. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners, Chairwoman. I am the Marketing and Communications Director for the City of Kingman, and we do currently have a social media policy. I was told to come and give you a brief overview of what that is. So currently our policy is directed towards those who have the ability to post on our social media accounts. It goes over what platforms are allowed, who can post, how you comment, both from a staff perspective and the public perspective, and it also goes into how new accounts can be created. Currently, the official City of Kingman page, we have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page, we have a LinkedIn page, an X account, a YouTube channel, and we just recently got a TikTok account. Aside from the official City of Kingman page, we also have Economic Development and Tourism have a page, our Police and Fire have a page, Parks and Golf have a page, and I believe that is it. Oh, and the airport also has a page that I help maintain. So the City of Kingman treats its social media pages as a limited public forum. They're designed to share information, not so much host debates on it. So we do have a pretty clear policy on not commenting on comments that are posted on our pages. There are some exceptions to that because sometimes you will get a legitimate question, and I usually take that on a case-by-case basis. If it's something that I feel other people in the comment section have been asking, I will comment to it. The policy is, though, usually to reach out to the person privately if that's possible. Some people do make it so you can't, like on Facebook, for example, that you can't send them a private message, but most of the time that is in the policy that first try to send them a private message. I do know we do get a lot of criticism and negative comments on our posts, but again, we're not supposed to comment on that. If there's a lot of consensus on a lot of the same topic coming up, I will go and make a new post or put out some more educational material. For example, we just started a series called Why Kingman, I'm working with the tourism and economic development team on that. We basically are going around and doing interviews of people. We interview businesses, investors, residents, and just ask them, why Kingman? Why have you chosen to move here, to open a business here, to raise your family here? And we just started it last month, and we're hoping, that paints a more better picture of Kingman. So we're hoping to do that monthly. As far as our current policy, I am working on updates to it, mostly just, technical updates. I do plan on doing a safe personnel class for employees who are regularly posting on our social media accounts, so they have that yearly training on, what is allowed, what's not allowed, and then social media is constantly changing, so it's good to have a yearly refresher. And that's pretty much our social media policy. If you have any questions, comments.
I have a question.
Okay.
Though this was not my topic. So we regularly read what's on the city, and sometimes we encounter individuals that take information maybe from a city council meeting completely out of context. And we're obviously not city staff, but I know in the past we've posted back hey, this is actually what was said, or this is what happened, and invite them to come to city council meetings. Do you have any best practices for those of us in the community that don't necessarily enjoy seeing the city bashed to pieces with fake information?
I think what you just stated would be perfect. Show them, hey, this is exactly what was said. Sometimes you're just always going to have those negative comments. It's just how social media works these days, unfortunately. But trying to at least educate the community as a commissioner or a member of the public by commenting. That's helpful.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate you taking time to come talk to us today.
No problem. Thank you.
Sorry, I had a question. Is social media, does the city of Kingman use social media for affiliate marketing or any type of, promotional material with influencers or anything like that?
Do we pay to advertise, or are you asking if we pay, because my department
well, I don't know if you're familiar with affiliate marketing and not just advertising that you could maybe do on Google or what have you, but actual
Tourism does. But
yeah, I
affiliation.
believe that maybe Bennett might be better. The only advertising I do would be recruitment advertising. I'm not sure if economic development or tourism does.
Yeah, no, I'd like Adam to speak to that a little bit, if that'd be fine.
So we do use influencers. They're a very valuable tool to expand the reach of what we can normally get from a tourism perspective. As far as city in general, I don't think that would really be a relevant option, but yes, for tourism, that's something we do. As far as affiliate marketing, not specifically, just with influencers to kind of build on our organic reach. So yeah, for tourism, it makes total sense.
And that's through AOT's Rural Marketing Co-op, correct, Adam?
Actually, yes, we can work with AOT on that. That's one possibility that we've done. We can also go out and find people. Sometimes influencers come to us and say that they're interested in our area, and so we can engage them and see what they have to offer us. I try to direct that into a central page so that at the end of the day, our tourism page is basically a good picture of all the relevant information that's out there.
What comes to mind is I recall seeing a YouTube video a couple years ago. A pilot had come into Kingman was extolling the virtues of the Kingman Airport and the various sites that he saw, spending some time here. It was very positive. That's the kind of thing I would like to see included or at least referenced.
I fully agree with that. I think that whenever we get that positive messaging, that we should share it as much as we can.
I have one thing. Sarah, thank you again for coming to present for us. And the reason I even questioned it to begin with, not was to question what you guys were doing per se, because I think, with the changing climate, that landscape is always, trying to be figured out, and I was just concerned from an economic development standpoint that when newcomers or possible employees, moving to the area, looking at the negative comments constantly on your guys' positive, information feeds, it was just important, I think, to have the plan to combat that or to educate that, not understanding that there's not a position for that, and that would take an all-day kind of thing, and to get into those, it's a whole messy arena, I'm sure, but I do like that you have implemented that podcast, and maybe that could be used additionally for some of the Citizen Academy type of information, because not everybody has the ability to sign up for those classes, but I think the more educated our community is, the less negativity we would receive, and as long as they have an understanding the why behind the what and the how things are taking place. So thank you again for the presentation.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Sarah. We're going to move to item 4B, commercial infill report update. Staff will give an update on what has occurred since the last commercial infill report was given. Nope, that's not it. It's 4D, sorry. The City of Kingman Development Process Update. Sorry, Jason. Development Services Director, Jason, last name? Moquin will share a report with the commission on the following items. Development Services Department reorganization, rebranding of the development process that became effective on August 1st, 2025, review of timeline requirements, adopted timelines and reductions effective August 1st, 2025, and common mistakes that delay the process required by the City of Kingman. This is going to be informational.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to come before you today. Been here shortly, or just over a year now. In my year that I've been here, we've been able to assess some of the things that have been happening, just not within the department, but also the types of projects that are being submitted to the city, the types of plans that are being submitted to the city, and really have taken that in over this last year, 9 months or so, and really started looking about how do we make the process better? How do we make it easier for the public, easier for our residents, our development community that's coming before us, as well as our staff? Because when I'm looking and I'm seeing my staff going through 3, 4, 5 plan reviews, there's something amiss. And so we went back and we took an analysis and looked at that. So just briefly, I'm going to go over today just some processing timeframes. I threw a little bit of information in here that I put before our Planning and Zoning Commission as well, which just gives you an outline of the number of reviews and the number of inspections that just our building division did over a specific period of time, our development process, and then some things that are forthcoming. And then, of course, something that's dear for me is customer service. So we'll touch briefly upon that at the end. So real quick in regards to processing timelines, this is just a side-by-side comparison when it comes to building permits under the current process prior to August 1st and then effective August 1st. So the two timelines that you see up there, both of these are typically driven by the Arizona state statutes. So we do have to have an administrative complete process. And with that, we have a minimum 10-day process for staff to review an application, deem it to be complete, and if complete, then it can then move on into the substantive review process, which currently you'll see, depending on the type of application, that can be anywhere from 10 to 30 days, depending on, again, what the complexity of that application is. We went back and we took a look at what was causing some of the delays in that process. Typically, extremely incomplete applications. Applications were being taken in and processed, lacking information, lacking substance, lacking information that's required for our fire department to initialize their review, or even our building division. Coming forward, understanding some of the changes that we were going to make and some of the things that we were going to be asking of the development community, we'd be giving back. So if they were able to meet us, we'd be able to meet them with a revised timeline. And so you'll see effective August 1st, we reduced that administrative complete process to 5 working days, so 5 business days. And then you'll also see a reduction anywhere from 0 to 10 business days roughly under the substantive review. And so this is for first check. So anytime an application comes in for building review, my goal was anywhere from 10 to 30 days total to get through that first review period. What we were seeing is anywhere from 25 to 60 days to get through a first review period prior to me getting here. And a lot of that had to do is the plans just don't have the information. Some of the other things that contributed to that is under Arizona state statute, anytime you're doing a commercial review or commercial project, it is required to be designed by a registered individual. And what we had seen is there was a lot of times that we were taking things in that were being done by the builder or the owner of the building, but they weren't actually registered, or they weren't going and getting an actual registered drawing. And that was what led to missing a lot of information in multiple reviews. Kind of jumping back, so before you can even get to the building permit process, you'll have actually a land entitlement process. So getting through the land entitlement process, when I arrived here, I saw applications that were in the process for 2 years. I've seen a couple most recently that are still straggling out there. And going back and taking a look again under ARS, they do have a minimum prescribed timeline as well as a maximum depending on that type of application. And my commitment, again, back to the development community is you give me better plans, we're going to get you through the process a lot quicker. So we've reduced that timeline from the 10 days administrative, again, to 5 days administrative for entitlements. And then depending on, again, type of application, first review, the substantive review under ARS, that gives the total timeline that a municipality has to actually process it. And what we're saying is for first plan check, again, we will have each of those application reviews at least through a first review within that first 25 days. We still have to meet the minimum or the maximum requirements under ARS. But what I was seeing is the 25 days on the city staff side was anywhere from 75 to 90 days for first review. And again, it just came back to missing information, incomplete information. And when I say that, there's some reasons for it, and I'll address that in just a moment. But I wanted to give you a little bit of idea of what my building division does. So between 2020 and 2024, essentially anywhere from 773 to 1,082 residential permits were issued. We had anywhere from 91 to 117 commercial permits, and then the public or any type of public or city facilities. In addition to that, we had inspections, so working with anywhere from 1 to 3 inspectors in the field. Those inspections ranged from 5,187 upwards to 7,484 inspections. And I can tell you our staff is busy every single day. So essentially, under the existing process, applicants are required when they first come in, they have to go, optionally, they can go through a pre-application process. And then they're required to go through the concept plan review and then the site plan review process. All of those essentially require the same plan. And what I was seeing is that an applicant would come in for pre-application and then come right back for their concept plan review and not make a single change based on the comments that we gave them at pre-application. And then they would come back at the site plan review and they would make about 30% of the changes at best. And in interviewing the respective agencies that prepare plans in and around the city of Kingman, I can tell you one entity said, well, I only prepared the plans to about 8 to 10%, and I let your staff design the rest of it based on our comments. I will tell you, our staff is here to actually review the project based on the code that's in place. We're not here to design the projects. And that takes a considerable amount of time and ultimately results in multiple rounds of reviews. Moving on from that, what we saw was subsequent reviews, a minimum of 3, typically 3 rounds of reviews, and then getting into the building permit process, again, first round, and then second review for average round of 2 checks. At the bottom, you'll see what we were seeing was basically 213 to 227 days with staff on an application. And that's a lot of it's because we're doing the design work. They're trying to have to interpret the code. We're interpreting the code for them. And what we ultimately identified was we have a code. We have a code that went into place in 2021. It's our development zoning code. It's not a bad code. It's just a cumbersome code to read. It's a cumbersome code to follow. The organization of it can be better. And we are currently in the process of rewriting it and reorganizing that code. We plan to bring that before a workshop here third week of September, as well as to the Planning and Zoning Commission and to the City Council. We're looking for adoption before the end of this year, so it has an effective date of January 1st. And then again, as I said, most of our comments were being utilized to design the project. So we are asking the development community to actually step up and design their projects, provide that service to their client in advance. And then I think the other part that I recognized was we had a significant staff turnover over a 2 or 3 year period. So not having consistent staff, not having a code that they had historic knowledge of. And from our perspective, we've created policies, procedures, as well as review guidelines internally. So our staff reviews projects consistently. We're in the process of making those to where they are an outward guidelines. So that way, each of the individuals, design individuals that comes to the city, they'll actually know exactly how their plans are going to be reviewed on a consistent basis. One of the other things that we did is to really rebrand the process, getting away from some of the acronyms and the terminology that we've used historically up to this point. As we launch a new process, we want it to feel like a new process. It is designed to reduce the time that an applicant spends in the development review process in its entirety. So due diligence really replaces the pre-application. It is still an optional requirement. However, it's been more designed to be a handhold for small mom and pop type businesses. The small businesses that don't know if they have a project or if they even have the funds to perhaps pursue a project well before going out and getting a design professional. We want to meet with those individuals. We want to be able to walk them through the process so they have an understanding before they go start spending money with a design architect or design individual. The other thing that is reserved for is for any type of project that's large scale that's going to require some sort of a policy decision. So a change of zone or a rezone or a subdivision that's going to have at least 100 lots or greater, because that triggers additional requirements under the subdivision ordinance currently, as well as the review of traffic. And so we've really designed that to be reflective and utilized for those specific opportunities, taking away some of the meeting opportunities with some of the entities that are out there, but it gives staff time back in their day to review projects that we do have currently in the queue. The next part would be the development plan review application. So this takes place at the concept plan. And really this concept plan in the past has been really utilized as almost what the development community thought is like an approval process. I can get approval here or conceptual approval, and I just had to make these minor changes. And again, what we'd seen is those changes weren't being made. They weren't being made when they got to the site plan review process, and most time those were being conditionally approved so we can move them forward. And then we weren't seeing the changes on the building plan checker side either. So what we've designed this to be is they have to submit a much more robust application. There's about 59 items that are required to be submitted, and those 59 items, as much as it sounds like a lot, these are typical items that you would see on a standard set of plans. So one of those being a north arrow. Believe it or not, it's missed on a lot of projects. Vicinity maps, calling out your streets, showing the location, showing your existing proposed water lines, showing where your access points are going to be, showing fire hydrants, and so forth. The more information we get at this level, the more detailed the comments that we're able to give back to those developers, those entities that are coming in before us. They can then take that information. That's a 3-week process. We actually sit down with them in a meeting and we give them verbal comments, and we follow up 1 week later with written comments. So they actually get written comments along with a checklist of every application that's going to be required to be submitted to move their project forward. That allows them to go back, and now it's back in the developers or the applicant's hands. City's not looking at it anymore. Previously, we would then require them to come back and submit for site plan. That would take 2, 3, 4 months to get through. We're not asking for that anymore. We'll actually review the site plan with their building plan review. They'll have enough information. They'll know that their use is either permitted or conditionally permitted through the development plan review process, or if any entitlements are required. And that will allow them to essentially start working on their plans and their projects. So if they do require an entitlement, they're able to move forward at their own risk. They can start preparing their plans. And when they come back for plan check, my goal is that they're ready for permit ready within second review. And then that gets down to, again, the building plan check and resubmittal if needed. So we've reduced all these timelines, and when you add that together and you remove the site plan process that's independent, and now it's going to be concurrent with your building plan check, we're saving anywhere from 2 to 3 months. Just on a regular single building, you know, we'll take the tropical smoothie place, 2 to 3 months just off the top. And again, if they have entitlements, they'll be able to track those concurrently at the same time. This kind of just gives the roadmap process. This was rolled out July 10th to the development community. And this, what I've just talked about, just gives a visual. Each of you have a copy of it in front of you. So essentially, if they don't require an entitlement, by the time they're done with the development review committee, they are in the process of preparing their plans for building plan check. And we won't see it back until then. I've went out and I've met with each of the entities that have been willing to sit down and meet, both architectural firms and engineering firms. I did a road show down to Lake Havasu to meet with the firms that come out of there and explain the process to them. I've had generally good feedback in regards to it. They understand that we're asking for a little bit more, but they also understand that most of this information is stuff that they end up providing anyways. It's just that they have to do it a little bit earlier on. So I've talked about the development process in regards to the due diligence, kind of just to recap again, rezone general plan amendments, subdivisions, 100 acres or 100 lots or greater, and then really reserving that for the small businesses, being able to handhold them through that process. There may be other projects, so as I look at them or as my counterparts over in engineering look at them, if we feel it should go through that process, we'll certainly do that. And then, of course, the updated process for development plan review. The other part to that is it also had standing meetings, so reducing silos between our departments. We now have a standing meeting on Tuesday. We meet with our internal departments. We talk about the applications that are going to be meeting with the applicant the following day. So we actually do go over those comments in advance. We don't want to say something that's going to conflict with fire or engineering and vice versa. So when we walk in there, we have a comprehensive set of comments and a game plan for this applicant to move forward. And then, of course, we meet with those applicants on Thursdays. Starting in the mornings, those are 45-minute sessions, and they just go right on. So at the end of 45 minutes, we'll take that next applicant in, but we give them the opportunity for them to explain their project, and then we provide them their verbal comments at that meeting, and then 1 week later, they'll get that written checklist and comments. And so I kind of talked a little bit about it, and what did we need from the development community? We needed clearer, more defined, drawn plans. We needed the design professionals to be held to the standard of review. They do have best practices within their industries. We are asking them to do that. I've reached out to the other agencies, and I can tell you, plans that get submitted to Havasu, plans that get submitted to Bullhead, they are of a much more higher quality and caliber than what we've seen here in the past. And so we're just asking them to give us the same courtesy. That way we can help them through the process. We do recognize that not all information is available at the time. So of those 59 items, we know that there's some studies that we've asked for. We know we won't get those. We know that it at least places it in their mind that they may have to do that study, and at least causes pause for the question when we meet with them. And then where are staying? It's incumbent upon the design professional to design in accordance to our city standards. And so with the revision of the zoning ordinance, revision of our subdivision ordinances that are forthcoming, we know that that will be a much easier document for them to navigate as well as staff. One of the other things that we'd been missing throughout this entire process is a really detailed, clear narrative. And a detailed, clear narrative really starts with just a general description of the project. What are you doing? How are you doing it? Are you phasing the project? Overall general size of the project, the acreages of the project, size of the building, and so forth. Any improvements that they're bringing. We want them to start thinking ahead instead of always asking staff as to, well, what do I need next? It is already clearly detailed in our ordinances as to what's required. So we want them to start thinking ahead and understanding what they need to bring to the table in order for their project to receive approval. And then, again, getting back to updated submittal requirements, so making sure that we have clear plans that have been reviewed by their staff. Some of the things that will change and that have changed and maybe has not been so embraced by the development community is that we're no longer doing conditional approvals. Conditional approvals, essentially we're saying, well, we'll approve it and we'll make sure it happens in the field when we get there. I can tell you 9 times out of 10 that wasn't happening. Deferred submittals was something that was also an issue, and I can tell you that came back to bite our own fire department, our own stations that are under remodel right now. They had some submittals that were deferred, and drywall went up, and we don't have the appropriate fire alarm monitoring systems in just yet. So they're having to go back and address those. So we're taking away some of the pitfalls that are out there from the community that typically result in the call at the very end of the day that says, I have to open tomorrow. However, I don't have an appropriate alarm or sprinkler system because their GC said, well, it'll be a deferred submittal, but then the GC never went back and actually submitted it. And unfortunately, once it's off staff's desk, we're also not looking at it until we get into the field. So. Again, talked a little bit about standard operating procedures. So we've been developing those internally with each of our application processes, as well as my staff's been meeting with our fire department and our engineering department to do the same in regards to their routing, what they look at and so forth. Again, we want it to be internal. We want to be able to utilize it as a training document, but we're also turning it outward at the end of this, so that way the development community understands exactly what we're looking at and how they should be preparing their plans. And then I've talked about basically the goals. We want to be able to have an integrated, seamless system. We want it to be transparent. We want the development community to understand if they come in here that they will be able to obtain a permit within a specified time frame. So one of the big changes that's coming towards the end of this year, up through this year, the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council have had the ability to overview and look at plats, so any subdivisions that come into the city. That changes January 1st of this year. And that really started back in 2023. 2023, the governor allowed for cities to adopt local ordinances that said that they didn't have to take before an open body or a public hearing any type of platting or subdivisions. It could be administratively approved. They could accept the easements. They could accept the assurances, thereby avoiding any public hearing process or any public process before the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. That was an agreement by the Building Industry Association, the League of Cities at that time, to really help with getting housing on the floor in the valley. We saw the writing on the wall. We kind of knew this was coming from a planning perspective, understanding that the governor was really looking forward to by-right zoning. The building industry wants by-right zoning, which essentially would allow them to build as long as the zoning said you could have residential. It didn't matter what the density was. It didn't matter anything. There would be no public input or no public process involved with that. So this was a compromise with that. The second phase to that was when they did that, it was the cities may adopt such an ordinance. Well, in March of this year, Governor Hobbs says the cities shall. So as of this year, we will be adopting subjective standards within our subdivision ordinance, and it takes away that public input process. So the public input will happen at the time of a change of zone for a rezone or at the time of a general plan amendment. However, platting will no longer be subject to any type of public input. In a sense, it's a false pretense anyways before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council. As long as it met the standards within the subdivision ordinance, the Planning and Zoning Commission nor the City Council would have a strong ability to deny it unless there was a true safety reason as to which it would compromise. One of the other things that it required us to do, and we do it currently, we just don't have an adopted policy, and that is to allow for at-risk rating. So under the ordinance or the legislation that was passed by Governor Hobbs, it does now require cities to have a policy in place to allow for developers to go out and start grading at their own risk well in advance of having any plat or permitting associated with it. So we'll be adopting that as an actual policy. And then it also allowed for and required us to have an expedited review process. And as part of our zoning code update, that process that I talked about, that was development plan review. I do see that as the opportunity where we will implement that, and essentially we'll create a waiver process for that. So we have to have very clear subjective standards. That's been the feedback that I've received from the development community. They want to make sure that they're treated equally and that one developer doesn't get preferential treatment over being able to bypass a step. And we would be looking at it as, you could perhaps miss that step, depending on the type of project or size of the project. But more or less anything else, we want to make sure that you're providing us those quality plans and that, you're getting through the process on a regular basis. And so we'll create a subjective standard that we'll be measuring those against. And if they meet that criteria, then they would be eligible to have that expedited process. One thing that we did not move forward with, as was my recommendation anyways, is that the city adopt a self-certification program, which is where the architect could come in, design their plans, say that it meets all of our standards, go out and build it, inspect it, and approve it and say, I'm done, city, thank you, give me my certificate of occupancy, I've done all the work. And that's not something that we wanted to forego. Just out of the fact for public safety, we still believe that there should be a review by the city staff. So our next steps is, again, coming up with the subjective standards for subdivisions, updating the subdivision ordinance as well as the city zoning ordinance, creating the expedited permitting process and the eligibility requirements, as well as the at-risk rating permit process. So that will all be coming back. One, we're going to debut it through a series of workshops at the end of the month, and then we'll be bringing it back to planning and zoning in November, as well as the city council with an effective date January 1st. A couple other things that are forthcoming is we have SmartGov. It's our electronic plan review and submittal process. So currently we do take everything by email today. However, this process is a little bit even more transparent. They do have to register. They have to put in all of their project data information. The applicants do. They'll submit it, but they can also watch and track their project through the entire process. They'll be able to see where it's at, what the time review timelines are, as well as we have the ability to report out that information. So that is forthcoming. And then again, I talked about customer service. Customer service is big in my department. I do have a customer service survey that is at the end of my staff's emails. So anytime that they are corresponding with the public, we want their input. We want to hear back from them. We hold developer workshops quarterly. We want to hear the feedback. We want to know we're going in the right direction. We want to be able to adjust and pivot if they see something that we're not. We're happy to hear and take that information. And with that, that concludes my presentation and answer any questions. It is the one item that Governor Hobbs allowed for cities to state if they want to or not include in their updated ordinance. And it was my recommendation that we not move forward with that.
Okay, good. Do you have any idea of why there's so much staff turnover?
Before my time, I couldn't tell you. I think we're a small department. We are an intimate department. I can tell you the things and the changes that I've seen in the last year. I've got great staff. Some of those are fairly new. Most of my staff, I would say, came on in about between February and July of this last year, with maybe only one. I think my technician prior to that was the only one that had been here previously, as well as one of our senior inspectors, so as well as our building manager. But I think just getting consistent staff together, getting an ordinance that works, my goal is that is satisfactory and it's promoting morale. I've seen our staff grow tremendously in their confidence over the last year, and I continue to promote that.
So the level of training has been good for the new people?
I would like to say yes. I will tell you, when I came on, it was a few things that I asked is what were they looking for? Mm-hmm. They were looking for consistency. They were looking for a toolbox. They were looking for a manual, what to do for the most part. And absent that, you're relying on someone's historic knowledge of how to process. And the thing is when it's historic of that nature, or if it's one-sided, one-minded, then you're teaching that same same mindset to newer staff. And we are here to review against the code. We're here against the city's adopted policies and standards. It is subjective or objective from that perspective. We're not here to influence or insert our own thoughts or opinions, other than when it comes down to some architectural styles.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'll say I have appreciated seeing you come before City Council many times in the last year and bringing about those small changes. And I appreciate that what you're doing for our development community. City Council Liaison, do you have anything, Mr. Walker? All right, thank you. Really appreciate your time, Jason.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
For those playing along at home, we are going back to item 3, which is action items. 3A is the City of Kingman Billboard and Chamber of Commerce agreements. The Highway 93 billboard was removed with the I-11, I-40 interchange work. The city owns the remaining 2 billboards on I-40 East and I-40 West. The chamber has managed them since 1982 and has lease agreements with Lamar, which auto-renew every 10 years. One would come up in 2025 and the other in 2028. Staff is requesting direction from the commission on what they would like to see done with the billboards. The options could be taking the billboards back or restructuring the lease agreements prior to the current lease ending in November 2025. This is a discussion and action item. Mr. Bennett.
Yes, thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Appreciate being able to bring this item before you. So what we wanted to do is have a discussion around this. You guys have seen the billboards in the past because we've talked about what we're going to put on the billboards on one side of them, and you took part in that. So as we talked a little bit in your introduction, one of the billboards was taken down as part of the alignment for the TI interchange. We had it removed to construct the roadway. ADOT provided an appraisal for the value of that, which we're currently through Public Works negotiating that value, and we do anticipate some funds through the CIP budget for that replacement of that billboard, and also being able to find a site and purchase land to have that on. Unfortunately, in looking at it, it's never the exact location of what that one was that really accomplished multiple things. It helped coming from Vegas as well as leaving, going on the I-40. So, we'll work with what we can on that. Here is one of the Explorer Kingman, to your heart's content. This is the one that came down. We had it up for a little while, but like I said, it was removed. There's what it looked like coming on US 93. Here's some previous billboards from 22 and 24 on Highway 93, the same location. And from 2007 to 2012, that same billboard. So all 3 of the billboards were erected in 1982, and they were done so with hotel and bed tax. I-40 East near Apache Street, I-40 West near Nucor Steel, and the one that we've been talking about, 93, which is gone. Another one of the billboards that you guys helped us work with, this one is still up. We see you, come see us. But up close. And then the other one, which is the rugged, adventurous, and unafraid over on the right. It was a little bright when that picture was taken, but there's that billboard. So there was a lot of backup material that we sent in. The city entered into these agreements with the chamber immediately. The chamber operated At that time, it was the Kingman Tourism Information Center, and so they, on behalf of the city, operated that. So the billboard faces entering Kingman were utilized by the chamber to market Kingman, and the chamber sold advertising on the other side as a revenue source to cover maintenance of the signs and kept the difference as administrative revenues at the time. Starting around 2000 to 2005, the chamber stopped managing the billboards, and they contracted with Lamar to earn a commission on the ad side of the billboard. So currently, Lamar's agreements are right around 10-year agreements that they have with the chamber. That started beginning in 2005 and through 2008, and they were set up on an automatic renewing process every 10 years. So the upcoming terms would be set to auto-renew on November 2025 and January of 2028. However, Lamar has revised those agreements, seeking 20-year agreements. The next term would be 25 to 45 if those agreements were renewed. So while Kingman Tourism separated from the chamber in 2014, the chamber kept control of the billboards and those agreements with Lamar. So the chamber and tourism, we basically, I think it looked like a handshake agreement on the other side in regards to continuing to promote Kingman coming in, like we mentioned earlier. And so after looking at it and looking at, a lot of history, just for instance, since this started, there's been like 7 different chamber presidents during that time. There's been a lot of changes. The city has now taken over tourism. The city is now taken on economic development in 2019. So a lot of changes over those years, really, to retake a look at this agreement and see if it's something that we could manage internally and basically handle the marketing. Maybe we do the marketing on both sides. Maybe we find an opportunity to lease them out. We just look at options, and we have the option as the city to manage it and maintain it ourselves. So that's kind of where we wanted to start the discussion and look at, eliminating those agreements since they are coming up, and then move forward with the city managing. We are going to have to find a location for the other billboard. We're going to have to find the land, do all the purchase, and handle, erecting a new billboard with the other one as well through ADOT. So there's a lot of work on the one side. We just feel like this is the next step to go forward over the next 20 years, with the city taking the avenue of tourism and economic development. So with that, open it up to any questions with the commission. Thank you.
Okay, there's, go ahead,
Sorry,
Martha.
go ahead. I just had a question, like if the city did take it up and manage it ourselves, what type of costs would we be looking at associated with that? And then also, is the 20 years on the lease with Lamar negotiable, or it's definitely has to be 20 years?
We have not had any discussions with Lamar about that. For sure, those agreements are really long. So those agreements are with, right now, they're between the chamber and Lamar. So if we took it back over, we would then handle any negotiations between Lamar and the city if we decided to go that route. With advertising on the other side, we would definitely continue to market Kingman on one side of the billboard, but looking at the revenue, maybe it's worth it for us to have both sides. The cost of what we might generate from a fee from Lamar back to us, maybe it's worth our money to just promote our own marketing. We currently, I believe, and maybe I do know Becky's here, when we put up our own ads, we pay for those. Ads that go up, when Lamar sells the other ads, whoever they're marketing for, they charge that to them. In regards to the maintenance of the billboards, I believe that we are currently responsible for them anyway, if something were to happen, just like when the other billboard was taken down, it's our responsibility to figure out a place to put it back up and to maintain it. I think
I see.
the only thing, I believe that the chamber has an agreement with us is to make sure that the lights continue to be on. So at night, when you drive by, we have, the lights showing the advertisement. And so there's those type of costs. Should the billboard fall down, that's an entirely different animal that I don't know, we'd have to look at that. I don't know if did that answer your question, Martha?
Becky, did you have input on that since you're the one actively managing that at this time?
I believe there's a $500 limit in there. If it's a repair that's $500 or less, the chamber takes care of that. If it's more than that or something, that's big with the billboards, then because Lamar owns it, they do that. But we did, we put all new lights and everything on them here. I don't know, what, about 6 months ago or so, I think it was, and that was at chamber expense.
Thanks.
My question is really, there's several possibilities here. Do you have the bandwidth to actually do the marketing or to do the extra work? Is the chamber interested in being involved in that?
Yes.
And do they have the bandwidth as well?
Yeah, we definitely have the bandwidth to handle this with my team and the staff because, originally when this was done, you didn't have an economic development, you didn't have a tourism, you didn't have those folks in place, which we do now.
Okay, and the other question I have is, which kind of goes along with what Martha said, I'm not really in favor of going to a 20-year lease with Lamar.
Yeah, neither am I.
Okay.
No, even if the city were to do it, those lease agreements would come back before council, and we would look to, not enter into any really long-term type agreements or some options to get out depending on performance and different things.
Yeah, it would have to be pretty ironclad performance requirements to go that long. There's been long-term leases previously with Kingman, and they haven't always been that good.
I agree.
Okay.
Who develops the content for it? Would that change if we take it over? Like, does Lamar develop the content for the billboards?
No, we develop all our own content. These are tourism-based on our side of the billboard, so we would continue to do that. The last time we did the content, we actually worked with the commissioners for some of it. We worked with the communities for some of the imagery. We did a little contest. It was a promotional thing we did at the time. That doesn't mean we'll do that again. It's just, we do develop the content for the city's side of the billboards.
If there was, you talked about the marketing, would that be income generating for us?
It could be income generating if we decided to take the approach of either going out and putting a phone number on that thing, says call city if you want to advertise on this, then we could generate revenue that way. Or if we decided to work an agreement with Lamar, then we would get the revenue for that.
Okay. Thank you.
I guess one other thing is the billboard taken down needs to be put back up on the I-11 part, mostly because with the connector going in, we certainly want to drive all the trucks to I-40 and all of the cars into Beale Street.
Yes, and that will be definitely looked at. It's number one priority.
Okay.
Is that location. Would have loved it to go back where it was, but unfortunately, It was, the zoning wasn't even appropriate apparently, where it was to go back.
I have a question. So the Chamber and the City of Kingman have a pretty well-working relationship, and this is a big part of their budget, I would imagine. Given the circumstances, I understand why this is being presented, and I don't believe the Chamber can relocate or, it makes sense for the city to head this, but does the Chamber want to speak on, how they might, I don't know, should we give them an opportunity to speak about this, or is that a different topic about the budget? I don't know. It says restructuring. That would be between you and Lamar, or you and the city and Lamar, or the city and the Chamber, or how?
In talking with city attorney, looking at these agreements, our agreement would be, take back over the agreement, and then from the Chamber, they basically would not be managing it. The city would manage it, and if we wanted to work with Lamar, we could. If we wanted to do some of those other options, we could. But basically, the city would basically take back over the management of the billboard.
Has the city taken into consideration the nonprofit budget of the Chamber? I mean, I know that's not the responsibility of the city, but there is a valuable relationship there.
We will always foster a relationship with the Chamber and look for opportunities, not only on the economic development side, but on the tourism side, to partner with them in any way. That relationship will always be key to this community moving forward.
Correct, I agree.
Yeah.
To that point, though, have there been any type of ideas or suggestions or ways to, since we would be removing this from their budget, of ways that we could talk about replacing it in their budget in a different capacity, or is that not for this topic?
I think those are internal discussions that, as we do different things throughout the city, looking for those partnerships.
Okay, and you want a recommendation from the commission on
So
how to move forward?
I'm about
basically
to ask this
looking
question.
for, recommendation to continue to move forward with, taking these billboards back under city operations.
So regardless
taking
of
them
the
under city
agreement
operations.
with Lamar is kind of the irrelevant part, but you're looking at, in our backup, you attach the contract between the city and the Chamber, and so you're looking to terminate that contract, is that correct?
That we'd have to terminate that
So
contract.
that's what you're looking for us to advise whether.
If we terminated the contract, then Lamar would deal directly with us on any of those items.
Okay.
And whether it's a
Should you
2-year,
decide to
5-year
continue with Lamar?
What's that?
Should you consider
We
continuing
would
with
have
Lamar,
that
you would
discussion
then-
with them. Yeah, we would then be able to open up and have that
That's
discussion
really
with Lamar.
not part of the discussion then,
No,
is what
no.
we're saying here.
Yeah, I was just
are
trying to
there-
distill down what we're going to address. Sorry, Martha?
I was just wondering if are there options outside of Lamar for the management of the billboard, or is Lamar the only or the best option? I guess.
Yeah, it would probably go through, once the city takes it, it would go through an RFP process. And if we decided we wanted to not use both sides of the billboard ourselves, for instance, if we decided to use them, we would contract with Lamar to put up our banner, whatever we designed, they would print it just like they currently do, and they would put it up. If we decided that we were going to sell the other side and market and advertise the other side of the billboard, then we would go through an RFP process, depending on how many years. All of those discussions would have to take place at that time. It would go through like any other process, seeking a contractor with the city.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
Becky Fossen is here, and but she is another commitment, so,
For everybody, can I talk?
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to let, I am in commissioner interviews across the street at the courthouse, and they start again at 1 o'clock. So I need to get back across the street to do that. So it's a huge conflict because this is a big deal for the chamber, but I also have that commitment. So if you guys had any quick questions that you wanted, or any, yeah, so.
Can we table it? Why don't you make that suggestion?
I'd like to make a motion that we table so we can have more discussion.
Okay.
Do we have to have a second?
Yeah, I'm like, I haven't had to table something before. Anybody got the Robert's Rules of Order? I think I need a second for that, or a continuation, or a separate motion. She made a motion to table until the next meeting, okay?
Second.
Before, can I ask a question? Is that tabling it for our next meeting being in November, is that going to put the contract out of the timeline?
It potentially could,
So would we need to call a special meeting for it?
probably.
Okay.
I'd just like to hear from Becky.
I think it's important, for that relationship that we do hear from Becky. Were we waiting for an additional speaker from the city? Is that why we postponed the action till now? Or we reordered the actions?
Irrelevant,
No, I was just curious why, okay.
because we had city staff here that we were
Gotcha.
waiting on.
Okay. That answers my question. A special meeting.
So we have a motion
first
to
and a second.
table until the next meeting and a second. So a vote then on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
I don't wanna-
Any,
No, you didn't.
Just a little more discussion?
For tabling it?
Lisa, I need your advice here. So can we continue discussion after there's been a motion or second? No, it needs an immediate vote, correct? Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Unless you start the whole process over, you can discuss it now, but you have to make it.
Okay, so if they deny tabling it, then discussion can continue. All right, sorry, we have a lovely person here, Ms. Lewis, with the rules.
So can I rescind the motion, or do we just need to cancel? Cancel motion.
Okay. Your question, or your discussion.
The discussion is if you want to create a motion to table until a work session to be put forward, then we can get something done earlier.
Does it require a work session? I think you just want further discussion. You want a chance to hear from Becky Fossen.
When is the auto renew?
November 2025.
November? Okay. Because we could make a motion to, can we cancel the auto renew?
It's not governed by the city.
Oh, okay.
Currently, it's not under the purview of the city, it's under the
Well,
purview of the chamber.
We have asked that they do not sign anything with Lamar at this point.
That's my only concern about the timing. I don't want to cause us to get back into an auto renew by default because we want more discussion.
That's a
But I
valid
want more
point.
discussion.
Well, then if they're not saying anything, they can postpone the audit until I mentioned so.
Okay.
So the chamber would have to not sign anything to auto-renew it. This,
Well, what about the special meeting? Can't we just have a special meeting to discuss it before in November?
I believe we can do that.
Yes.
Okay.
So is that the motion for a special meeting?
So what am I
Yeah,
hearing
that
you
would
saying
be,
is that
that
you'd
would
like
be
to
direction. That
table,
would be direction, yeah.
table this item, agenda item, until the next meeting, which due to the time frame, we would want to call a special meeting for, so that it fits within that auto renew. Am I in the right realm here, Bennett?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I assume that you wanted to invite Becky back for the discussion as well?
Yeah.
So how do we get, I mean, I don't know, do we have to reach out to her, get it on her calendar? How does that work?
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
I will work with Becky, Ms. Fossen.
Okay, great.
So I'm going to need an actual motion and a second.
Okay. So I motion that we table this item until we can have further discussion with the chamber.
Okay. And a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Any opposed? Because I'm legally supposed to ask here. Okay. We are going to move to action item 3B. Thank you, Bennett. The Lewis Kingman Park Train Art. Staff will give an update on the Kingman Lewis Park art installation consisting of a 39-foot long, half-inch metal cutout silhouette depicting a train and surveyor. The art piece celebrates the work of Kingman's namesake, Lewis Kingman. It is covered in an oxidized black paint and needs to be recoated. Staff would like to commission an artist to create a custom mural and complete the work as a Route 66 Centennial project. This is a discussion and possible action. If you haven't checked, there is a substantial amount of backup in this in this action item. So I think Mr. Geller is going to cover some of that.
Thank you. There's a presentation that PowerPoint that accompanies this presentation. If I go ahead and open it, then IT will be able to share it. Is that, or do they have it automatically? Oh, okay. Just a second, sorry. You're good. Okay. No, it's on the network. Okay. This is the directory right here. Yeah.
Is that it?
Okay, thank you. Okay. I think we can go ahead and begin now. So here we have the Lewis Kingman Park train silhouette facelift idea. So let's start out with some data here. And this is actually fantastic because this came from the ASU Sustainable Cities data that was collected. So we can look and see exactly where does the public want art and where what types of things would they like to see. So I love that this is data driven. So to start out with here, you can see that most of the demand for public art is for downtown and as well as high visibility areas. And if you look fourth down on the list here, also parks, trails, and green spaces are somewhere where the public would also like to see art. So if looking at the percentage there, we're at above 70% of those surveyed that would like to see public art in those spaces. And so, what types of art would the public like to see? Overwhelmingly, it's murals. So that was an interesting bit that we learned from this data. 77% indicated murals. So some of the key takeaways here: yes, they want to see murals and sculptures, and where they want to see those is in the downtown area and the hilltop zone as well. And one interesting comment that was received as part of that data was one person felt alienated. If you're not into Route 66, 50s nostalgia, car culture, Wild West, you won't find a lot of public art murals that speak to you. I don't see myself or my interests reflected much in Kingman art. So while anecdotal, that actually does bring up a very important point that, are we creating public art for a broad range of people in the community, or are we just focusing on a particular segment? So, it's something to think about. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the train silhouette. Is the train silhouette in itself art as it stands? Actually, the answer is no. It's more of an architectural feature that was part of the park when it first opened. So it's basically, as you can see, a metal cutout. So while itself it isn't art, it could be looked at as a blank canvas. And so that's the point of this concept here. And as you can see a little bit in the photo, the paint is starting to deteriorate, and it needs something, right? Over the past several years, we've done a transformation of that park, and we've turned it into something completely different. We have the leaning shield, revitalization of the restrooms, the playground, the Cadillacs from the Cadillac Ranch. So, sure, it's a park, but also it's on historic Route 66, and it's a really unique location. The park itself was a rest stop on Route 66, so it ties into the history of it. And when the park first opened, this silhouette was the grand jewel of the park. But, now it's kind of overshadowed by the leaning shield and some of these other elements, the metal sunflower sculptures. And the park has kind of changed directions from when it was originally built. Some of that information is here. If you're interested, it was built in 1968. There's a quote here from Mayor, I believe. So as you know, with the new I-11 interchange that's going up, now more than ever, we need to drive traffic into downtown, right? I mean, this is, it could be, of course, the new interchange is a fantastic thing and a great thing, but there's a chance that we might lose some traffic along that route. And so the idea with the park in general and the revitalization is to really turn it into something different, not just a park, a symbol of Route 66. And also, there's a term now, nostalgia, which I find really interesting. If we left Route 66 the way it was around the time of the decommission in the 80s, it wouldn't be very interesting today. The thing that makes Route 66 so intriguing to me is the success story, and if you look at Pixar Cars, the revitalization of it and turning it into something new, a new experience. And that's the whole point. And so I love the term nostalgia that really kind of captures that. And the silhouette at the train silhouette at the park is something that could actually capture that idea. So So this photo basically is there to illustrate that it kind of blends in and it's not very visible from the road in its current state, but you can see it. So because of its color now, its matte black finish, it's not something that really stands out and draws you into the park, as opposed to all the new installations, art installations that are so vibrant and colorful, and now they have LED lighting, and it's something that just really captures your attention. And that's been the theme of rebranding the park in general. So I think, a project like this really just goes along with that theme. Here's another image here that just shows you the view of the train silhouette from the highway from 66. And, it's kind of lost the way it is now. But could it be something more? And, of course, we understand that it's significant, it's historical, and we're not replacing it in any way. We're just using it as potentially a canvas for something new. And does it have to be permanent? No. Can it be changed in the future? I mean, it's just paint. It can always be painted over. And so looking at that, we actually have a really, really unique opportunity for something that we can do with that mural, putting a mural on it. So Bentenya is a dance group from Japan. And I'm not sure how well known this is, but the Asian tourist market is really critical in Kingman. It's a lot bigger than most people probably know about. And the fact that Route 66 has such an impact in Japan, where people actually want to come to Kingman and visit and experience Route 66, there's a lot of tie-ins there. There's publications and magazines about Route 66 that are in Japanese. There's just a huge tie-in, and we've done stuff with that tie-in before, and one of the best examples of that is this dance group Bentenya. We've invited them to our festival while they were doing a Route 66 tour, and that was just and I wasn't there, but from what I've heard, it was a really, really unique moment. They actually got on stage with one of the bands, and just the people were talking about that on social media, and the reverberations from that moment will forever live in Kingman's history. So Bentenya, here's a post that they did, the I Heart Kingman, the I Heart Fest in Kingman, with Route 66 imagery and our festival logo and Kingman imagery in the background, just as an example. So in partnering with them, with Bentenya, they've suggested this Japanese artist who's actually based in Brooklyn, New York, Yukiko Izomi. And so she kind of specializes in creating this extremely colorful, vibrant art, and her passion is to revitalize neighborhoods. So here's a fun example. This is a trash truck, right? How can you make a trash truck look nice? Well, I think she's done it here. That's probably some of the most interesting looking trash trucks that I've ever seen. So New York City Summer Streets illustration project was done. And she does a lot with lettering, which is why our affiliate with Bentenya that we've been working with suggested her, because that's kind of her specialty, are these really bright and vibrant letters, and it's very similar to the train silhouette as far as the form and function of it, so it just seemed like a natural fit. This image shows some of her process that she does. So she actually draws this all by hand. It's not like a computer generated or anything. So the process starts just sketching and creating an outline. And what she does is she looks at different elements of that specific community and what it's for. So you might see these examples here and think, well, that's not really Kingman, but No, she customized this one for New York City. You have bicycles and volleyballs and just different things that were specific to that application. So here's a closer look at that. You've got rollerblades and different things. And what an eye-catching and colorful piece. She also does work with cities. So this is a giant cutout sign mural that was done for Vejle in Denmark and commissioned by the city there. And so it has features that are Denmark specific. You can see the deer, the windmills and different things on here. And so, thinking that, what could she do for Kingman possibly and take some of our elements that we have. So she created a proposal for us for the silhouette. The cost is $6,000 for one side, and for both sides would be $11,000. And that includes the design, the materials, the labor. And the great thing about this is that the historic Route 66 Association has expressed interest in partnering to cover the costs of one side. So, the cost to the city could be really minimal in this case. It might be just the cost, the remaining to do the other side, or maybe just one side is all we want to really do. So it's something that everything just kind of fell into place, all the pieces at once. And so I think it's worth looking at and discussing this project. And as I had mentioned before, it doesn't necessarily have to be a permanent project. It could be something that is Centennial specific or Route 66 specific that we just keep for a couple of years, and then we either paint it black the way it was or we do something different. There's a lot of options that could be done with this. And really, this is the centerpiece of the park. If you look at it from an architectural perspective, it's elevated, it's right in the center, it's an original piece to it. So it's kind of, a shame that all these other improvements have been done across the park, and yet its original shining center is just kind of sitting there with faded paint. And so, these are some elements that maybe she could incorporate that are Kingman oriented. Of course, the Route 66 shield, the sun, cactus, rodeo. There's with Kingman and Arizona, there's just so many options that could be done. So it would be really interesting to see what she could come up with here. So this is what the silhouette looks like now, and this would be it with some color added on it. So as you can tell, I mean, it's quite an impactful difference compared to what it is now. In the black and the matte, it just gets lost, especially with all the new art installations around the park. So this would be a great first one to just really add some color to the silhouette. And if we look closely, perhaps you can do some elements that are Kingman oriented, some of the neon signage and various assets that are very Kingman specific, Route 66, the mountains, the aeronautical history. So there's just so many options, and we could highlight the trail systems, mountain biking and whatnot. This is just going over some of the additions that I was mentioning to the park. So the Cadillac Ranch experience, the new decorative light posts that have been installed, the new play equipment and ramadas, new restrooms, metal flower sculptures, of course the shield. So it just shows you that all of this has been happening relatively quickly since 2024, and just one piece at a time. And of course there's reasons for that, right? We don't want the park to be down and not usable. So by just kind of, going piece by piece with all the various components in it, we can keep it up and running. And really, it's come down to the final thing, which is this train silhouette. So this is staff's recommendation, whether or not we want to move forward with this. If you look at the data, so all the improvements to the park don't mean anything unless we have data to really back up. Are they bringing more people? And the answer to that appears to be yes. Looking at the Placer data here, this is from comparing January to July of 2025 to the same time period in 2024. And what that's showing is a 19% increase in visitors to the park. And so I think that's pretty huge. And I think that positive momentum can keep going with something like this project. So that concludes the presentation. Are there any questions about this going forward?
It seems like an ideal location for real color to bring people in. It's Louis Kingman, who does have some historical significance to the town. I don't see anything other than a win on this one.
Thank you.
Okay. So where's the money coming from for this? And if it's being done this year, is it already in the budget?
The Route 66 Association has expressed interest in actually paying for one side. So that if we only do one side, that could potentially be 100% funded. And then if we want to do the other side, we could possibly find some way to budget for that. So I'm not privy to the exact details, but
So you're saying it's not in the budget?
No, it is. We have funding for these type of projects that are in the budget. It's just, they're not specific to projects. We have Art in Public Places, which has an X amount, and so that's where the funding would come from.
So this would come from that Art and Public
Correct.
Places
Correct.
bunch, okay.
And just to add to that, we've already taken the time and resources and funding for the ASU project to get this data. So I feel like, we're looking at that and saying, well, how can we best apply that and utilize that? And this project makes perfect sense going along with that theme.
So what, it looks like you had a pretty nice drawing there, but I'm guessing that did not come from the artist?
No, so we did a few of them, and some of them were more themed like what the artist did, and that one I'd say is more the one that's Kingman specific. But the great thing is the flexibility of this artist to just do what we want, and how that's determined, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe she would come up with a few concepts and we could just go from there. But
So my next question is, why necessarily the artist? Or what is the advantage of the artist? Since it looks like we already have some concept designs that could be probably done up there, a couple $100 and some spray paint.
My first thought is the international exposure
Yes.
that she could bring and the nationwide exposure that she could bring by having her artwork placed here through all of that social media and her already doing things in big cities and around the world. So that's the value there, and being that, it's up to us whether we put in cost or not, because the association wants to foot that bill. I think it's a kind of a cool project.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about her following or what the benefit that would bring that you're seeing.
so from what I can tell, she's a pretty big name in New York City. And the tie-in with having a Japanese artist do that work for us, and the whole flow of events with Bentania and recommending them for this project, It just seemed like all the pieces fit into place, and that's what we're presenting, and we're not saying this is the ultimate, end all of what this could be, but it just seemed like a good idea, and so that's why I'm up here mentioning it today.
I do have a question, being that it was stated it's not permanent, obviously it's paint, there's weather and things, does any kind of upkeep, if it did want to be something that remained here, would in that cost, or would we just start the cost over and bring her here to maintain it? How would that work?
It would be similar to how we maintain our current projects around here. If there's maintenance that has to be done, I would imagine we would seal it. Can we stop graffiti from happening everywhere? No, but it shouldn't stop us from trying to put some nice stuff out there. And then, if something did happen, we'd have to look at making those repairs. We do see, what stops a lot of that from happening is the more people in a park, the more activity. It's with anything, you're going to have less vandalism. If you have nothing in a park and nobody wants to go there, you're going to have a place where the people that we don't want in the park are in the park.
Is it currently illuminated?
No.
Is that something you would consider as part of that project?
I think that's a great idea.
They are now.
Okay.
One of the concepts that came out of the Art in Public Places was to bring in fairly well-known artists, but really giving them an open hand to see what their concept is, how they view the location. So it's, there's a design, we've thrown some stuff out there, but what you really want is the essence of the artist that's coming in.
Agreed.
Yeah, I get that. I just want to ask the question. So
Okay.
we're going to spend $5,000 on it. Like, if it's something our high school groups can do for a couple hundred and support their program here locally, I just want to make sure that's what we want to do.
Well, if we can get the one side done with the Route 66 Association, that's an incredible bargain.
Absolutely, and then it leaves the other side as a blank canvas, so maybe we could get a different artist or a local artist to
We
do
could
that
get a local
in the
artist.
future.
Do you have any idea how long it would take? I did see that we would have to pay for her and an assistant to stay for their accommodations.
That was included, I believe, in her.
Was
total.
that part of the 6? I thought that was separate.
I believe so. I'll have to double check on that. But as far as the quote that we received, it seemed all encompassing as far as prep, paint, design. So if there are some accommodations that are necessary, that might add.
Yeah, we would have to finalize that, depending on if we go back and say, hey, you're gonna do one side, we'd get the estimate on what it would cost. So we're looking for, is the concept something that we should look at moving forward? And it sounds like it could be. Then we would take the next steps to have those conversations with the artist.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to move forward, and then also looking for a one side or two? Because will this go before city council? I never know, so.
There's a good chance it will go before city council. I don't know.
So just
Yeah.
a general,
I would
we'd
say
like
we're
to see
looking
it
for
move
a-
forward?
Yeah, I'd like for the full thing, and then depending on what we find out in regards to, both sides, not both sides, internally, staff can make those decisions.
I would like to make a motion to move forward with the concept. It's pretty cool, and staff can work with their budget to figure out what to do both sides or not. I don't know if that's too much, but motion to move forward.
Sorry for the lengthy motions today, Lisa. Did you have a comment you wanted to make, Brian?
Yeah, just one last comment is I'm really happy to see one side done by the artist, but I'd really like to see the other side done by a local artist.
So
I
maybe we could
agree
take that.
with that. Well, and maybe not even a side done by the local artist, but maybe input or some type of collaborative effort between the artist and a local artist or a local program of some sort. Would she be open to something like that, or has that discussion been had at all?
Well, I'm sure we have some discussions with the artist. The artist is going to look at Kingman and see what she thinks we should have there. And that's why I want to make sure we have one side reserved for a local artist.
Okay, I'm like, so restarting the motion then. Did you still want to make the motion, Tasha?
What specifics do I need to change? The motion to move forward with the concept and the artist doing one side with a local doing the second side? Do we have that say, or is that within their department?
So I would say anything you guys put forth as some suggestions,
Great.
we would take that into account. And other stuff might come up as well. So all great ideas, we will take that into account when doing all the due diligence on this project.
So I would say just a simple statement of moving forward with the motion to move forward with the concept.
With moving forward with hiring Yukiki? Izumi?
I would, again, go back to the concept.
Okay.
We will reach out to her again. We will look at the local art. We will do all of that stuff as part of this process to put the best project for the community up in the
Okay,
center.
I have a dumb question that I'm going to follow up with then.
Sure.
Sorry. Sorry, Tasha. Does it require 3 bids?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Because it's a project and it's over $5,000, does it require 3 bids? I just want to make sure in the due diligence side of that.
I don't
If it does, which I don't believe it does because of the special purpose that's going through,
Okay,
we wouldn't have to do that, I don't believe.
okay.
If
I just
we're
want to make
required-
sure.
If we're required to do that, we will go through that process as part of this.
It's my understanding that art does not have to go through that.
Because I imagine you couldn't get 3 exact bids because.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's taking even Martha's suggestion, your suggestion, and somebody else might have another suggestion, and to
Creates
get
the
all of those stars aligned, it's somewhat difficult.
We just make you
But we
work
will
for it.
try to do the best we can.
Okay.
Oh, my turn?
Just do the thing.
Motion to advise staff to move forward with the concept.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Mr. Geller.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to go 4B. We do have about 20 minutes left remaining in the meeting. So item 4B, commercial info report update. Staff will give an update on what has occurred since the last commercial info report was given at the commission meeting in June 24th, 2025 meeting. This is informational.
Good
Hello.
afternoon. Here we go. All right. Good afternoon. It's been a while since June, so I'm just giving you a quick update. Mine's to be pretty brief. Just a little overview on the infill incentive district. We do have a current infill incentive district, and it has a boundary that goes from once you come down Coyote Pass on Andy Devine, a little bit of downtown, all the way up to Cal Ranch on Andy Devine. That's the existing boundary as it is today. It started in 2019 when City Council approved it. The basic concept of it is that we are trying to attract businesses and help business owners in these locations, whether it has dilapidated buildings or vacant properties, we want to fill them in. That's just the general concept of it. So during this time, it has helped quite a few businesses come in, and a lot of small businesses do their renovations or TI improvements for buildings that they're trying to move in. And now we are just reviewing the current incentive and seeing where we want to go with it, because this one expires on December 31st, 2025. the end of this year. So in the meantime, we've been doing a lot of research where our vacant parcels sit, where our vacant buildings tend to sit, where we want to go with the boundary, and working very closely with development services because we need to collaborate with them since the fees that are waived are typically plan review fees, building permit fees. So we do need to work closely with them. And that's kind of where we're at right now. It's just doing a lot of the research. I don't think there's much more to add to that besides next time I can probably tell you further along if we've established a boundary at that point and this is where we're looking at. But right now, we're just kind of getting the meat of it just to kind of identify where we want to go from here.
Thank you. Anybody have questions, comments for Ms. Schaefer?
I just
All
get the
right, thank
award
you.
for the shortest one today.
You're the winner
Short
today.
and to the point. Okay.
That was shorter than most of our motions.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I'll bring you back some good information in the next round.
I really
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you.
Item 4C is the 2025 Arizona Governor's Conference on Tourism Report. Staff will update the commission on what they've learned at the Arizona Governor's Conference on Tourism. It looks like, Mr. Geller, that's going to be you.
Hello again. All right, so July 16th through 18th, as mentioned, we went to the Arizona Governor's Conference on Tourism at Scottsdale Camelback. So this conference was a mix of general sessions and breakout seminars. So I'm going to go over the ones that I attended as well as what staff attended, as well as just some of the key takeaways from the general sessions. And these general sessions basically covered travel trends, strategic planning, and included some general economic outlook with that. So getting started, 25% of Arizona tourism is from locals. I thought that was fairly interesting. And then, of course, you know, the travel slowdowns from international visitors. Looking at some of the slowdowns in general, it seems to be affecting more the lower and middle income, and higher incomers are still spending and traveling. So, when I go to these things, I want to think about what can I actually take away and what can I start using in my day-to-day right away, because there's so much information, and so I'm just going to go over a few of those things and what I've done. One thing that I've been contemplating is how can we capitalize on that and create more travel experiences geared towards higher income, and I think that's something that benefits everyone too, just because tourism in general just trickles down to all aspects. So as far as international travel, the trends that they had mentioned, basically. While it's bad, it's not as bad as forecasted, and we're expected to recover by 2029. So those decreases include Canadian and Australian visitors, and in part, a lot of that has to do with their news cycle and what they're seeing on the news every day, and they just are continuously bombarded with a lot of negative information and thinking, travel to the U.S. has changed. And so it's a common thing now to have to explain to international travelers that no, travel hasn't really changed. It's the same. So moving forward here, a lot was discussed about macroeconomic trends, and of course those align closely with tourism. We have a lot of noise out there, but as they say, markets climb a wall of worry. So, if you look at asset prices now, we're pretty close to all-time highs. Employment is relatively low, and we're anticipating a rate cut potentially as early as next month. So, is it all doom and gloom with the economy? Depends on who you listen to, I guess. No one has a crystal ball. But one of the more interesting takeaways on that front that I learned was that, the current administration does prioritize keeping this economic momentum going. And so they do have some tools should a slowdown occur, whether that looks like renegotiating tariffs or just adjusting policy to be more accommodative. There is some room, and same for the feds too. Our neutral rate has changed the last couple decades, and so potentially, being at 4 or 5% federal funds rate, we do have some room and some leeway to address maybe some economic slowdown. So not as bad as it seems, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. Same with exchange rates. They haven't been favorable the last couple of years, so that's been preventing some international travel, but it seems like so far for 2025, those rates have been normalizing and stabilizing. So some of the breakout sessions that were attended by staff, one of them was really interesting, Gen Z and millennial travel. So we're looking at what changes and what differences they travel. So as far as Gen Z goes, they're 60% more likely to book on-trip activities. 84% prefer off-the-beaten-path adventures. How perfect is that for Kingman? 79% participate in a day of the life like a local. So they want to see, what's it like to be a local in these destinations that they travel to. And looking at Gen Z and millennial, what similar trends they have, 72% are more likely to have shared a review within the last week. So they're the ones that are more vocal online and presenting more reviews about their experiences. And here's one that actually surprised me. They actually prefer to stay at a hotel compared to short-term rentals like Airbnb. And let's see, another one is 42% more likely to seek experiences such as mountain climbing, etc. One theme that was discussed multiple times was just the re-interest in road trips, and Route 66 and Kingman pretty much check all those boxes. Budget travel, slow travel. I think, from what I heard and learned at the conference, I think we're in a really good position going forward. Even though some destinations might see a bit of a slowdown, I think we might be a bright spot in Arizona tourism in general. Another one of the breakout sessions involved navigating global travel. And so some of the interesting points, let's start with Canada. So older generations are not as interested in visiting the U.S. this year from Canada. However, Canadians under 45 years old are more likely to want to visit Arizona in 2025 versus 2024. So that shows that Arizona as a state is actually increasing on the global marketplace as far as travel destinations. Drive market travel dropped 33% in May due to tariffs and high exchange rates. However, airline load factors are increasing. 55% of Canadians get travel inspiration online, especially from social media. So another takeaway there is, okay, we want to target the younger generation with our marketing efforts in Canada. So we would use perhaps Instagram instead of Facebook or TikTok, somewhere where, you get that, capture that younger crowd. So moving on to France. A little bit of a slowdown there. New bookings decreased by 8%. However, they're not seeing an increase in cancellations, just less bookings, and some of those reasons were explained as security concerns from wars in Ukraine, Israel. But the good news, another bright spot, is the U.S. is among the top 3 travel destinations for the French. Also Germany too. We're still in their top 5, so there is a negative perception, but it's reinforced that travel experience is the same here in the U.S. Also, FIFA in LA next year and Las Vegas is actually a really good thing for Arizona in terms of the German market. In UK, apparently UK travelers are looking for a big wow. So the idea is Arizona should be highlighting their unique assets. Sports is really big, bucket list experiences like Route 66. And this is actually one of the more interesting bits of data. This all comes from TripAdvisor, so they do have a really unique data set. And actually, they're incorporating that data set into some AI LLMs. So that data is now basically propagating across the AI universe. And this was interesting. So negative comments in the current environment generally come from people who have no intent on traveling anyways. So we do see a lot of that negativity, but are they from people that matter from a travel perspective? So all very interesting things to consider. So then looking at U.S. travel, 69% of domestic travelers are interested in road trips, including Route 66. So that's another plus for Kingman. However, 46% of potential U.S. travelers are rethinking their travel plans due to politics. Week-long vacation booking windows is down from 12 weeks to just 10 weeks. However, Arizona is outperforming other destinations, other states as far as destination attributes. So similar to Canada, you know, Arizona is basically trending when it comes to U.S. travel, which is a really good thing for us. Another one of the breakout sessions that was attended by staff was called Story Spark, Igniting Tourism Through Authentic Voices. And so what this suggested was potentially doing research on historical stories and community stories and kind of bringing those to light and making it more for a travel perspective, which is a pretty interesting approach. And I think we're already doing some of that, but just understanding the importance and seeing some examples that have been done by other communities and how they've done that. So for example, Bisbee did a whole unique marketing experience that highlighted some of their hidden gems and unique experiences throughout the community. Same for Prescott and Antelope Canyon Tours. So they did a Speak From Your Roots campaign and some interesting things there. So then, as far as some of the classes, the final two that I'd like to mention were just AI. And as we know, AI is changing things really, really quickly in all industries. Tourism is no exception. So one of the big things is changing the way that people search for data online. Previously you would do your own research and you would Google and go to a bunch of different websites and kind of do that. Well, that step has kind of been removed. So now when you search, Google is doing that for you and presenting the blurb at the top. So the idea is how can you keep your information relevant and get it picked up by AI? And so a lot of that is just good SEO, which means basically, doing proper tags and having your information organized in a way that gets picked up by the search engines and increases the ranking of that. But as far as AI, the difference is AI is looking for authority. It wants to get the complete picture. So if you can be a really authoritative source on your subject, then that's an effective way to get your information out there. And one good practice would be to look at all of the community's assets as far as for tourism, so restaurants, museums, hiking trails, and hotels, and just making sure that information is correctly presented online. So, that could be as simple as doing a search and acting like you are a potential visitor and you want to see that, is the best information coming up? Is it easy to find? And if not, then you have an issue and you can go back and do some SEO and things like that. And then the final bit was the more advanced AI course that I took. And so that got into different learning language models and exploring the benefits and advantages, disadvantages to each one, also stacking them so you're combining different AI technologies. So one unique example of that was Notebook LM. So you can create this this sandbox that has all of your information, and the AI will only pull from that. And so what you could do is you could actually take ebooks and convert those to text and then enter that. So much information is just lost online that was printed in books many years ago. So imagine taking, some of the key historical references from Kingman and putting those all in one place, and then having AI be able to answer questions and tell stories based on that information. So I thought that was interesting. You can even take the transcripts from YouTube videos. Instead of having to watch the whole thing, you can take all those transcripts, put that into AI, and get information faster, more readily available. AI is making a huge impact in data analytics, and not just analyzing the data itself, but presenting the data. So one trick that they showed us is they said, well, Wall Street Journal has some of the best charts. So if you want your charts to look like Wall Street Journal charts, why don't you ask AI and say, hey, present my data in charts that are similar to Wall Street Journal, and it can do it. And so it's a huge time saver in that regard. And the final thing that I'll mention about AI and the governor's conference was this tip. Basically, instead of just asking ChatGPT, your question, you ask it, what do you need from me to successfully answer this question in the best way? And so it actually changed the way that I use ChatGPT now. And so now ChatGPT will ask me, well, tell me more about this, tell me more about this, and then it will calculate a better answer than if it would have just tried to answer my question based on the data that it can pick up online. So great experience overall. Highly recommend it. I learned a lot, and I'm applying a lot of that stuff all the time already. So like one idea was marketing Kingman as an alternative, a cost-effective alternative to Vegas. So everything you love about Las Vegas, but less. So things that you typically see, like the Hoover Dam or Grand Canyon West or Emerald Cave, you can see all those from Kingman. And not only that, then if you still want to gamble, you've got Laughlin right there, and then the benefit of being close to Havasu. So we did some really interesting brainstorming activities and got a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool ideas. So I'm always going through my notebook and just trying to figure out, how can I apply some of this information. So good experience overall, and I'm done, I promise.
Thanks, Adam. Commissioner O'Neill, I believe you attended as well from the city. Did you want to add anything?
I won't add much. I attended some of those same classes, so that was great information. I enjoy that conference, not only because Kingman, the last couple times I've been there, has been highlighted, and we get to share with the rest of the state all of the great things that Kingman has been up to and has been accomplishing, leads to Kingman, being sought for information of how other places around the state can then do things. So I think that's very, very important, and kudos to the city of Kingman for all that they do. The presentations were great, especially given by the Route 66 Association. That was phenomenal. And this year in particular, we did some unintentional team building, which I think was going to turn out to be quite beneficial for the community and some other projects. So I was grateful to be able to go.
Excellent. I also attended. I just wanted to highlight, I believe that our tourism staff started an autism awareness sensitivity class that kind of came out of sustainable tourism class that we took there. Probably one of the better classes that I attended, though the many stats were great, was a class on sustainable tourism, not necessarily sustainability meaning green, but sustainability meaning how do we continue to make it happen in the community? How do we build partnerships together? So there's some really great information on how to build a lasting legacy with your tourism department. So that was great. She noted that I attended on behalf of my business, not on behalf of the city. So, seeing no additional comments on that, unless Bennett, you were going to add to that. Okay. We're going to move to item 4E, Economic Development Strategy Update by Chabin Concepts. This is Audrey Taylor from Chabin Concepts who will give an update on the status of the updated Economic Development Strategy Project. Did we have?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to introduce actually Thatch Moyle. Hopefully, Thatch, you're still on. Now, if you can hear me.
Can you guys hear me?
Here, I can hear you, Thatch. Is there a way, Lisa, we can get the screen to? Okay. So,
Sorry, I didn't realize he was waiting, or I would have got to him earlier.
no, I appreciate that. So, we've been working with, on this project for a few months now, and we are getting to the point where we're wrapping up the major part of it. And so we've got a draft together, which you guys have been sent a copy of as well. And so we wanted to invite them to go over that, get any feedback that you guys might have right now, as well as offline, that we could add to that draft before we present to council. So Thatch, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Thank you, Chair and EDAC commissioners. I'll try to keep this short and sweet in the interest of time. Can you all see my slide deck?
Yes.
Okay. So as been alluded to, this 2025 Kingman Economic Development Strategy is just an update to the strategic plan, which was first drafted in 2019 by Chabin Concepts. I work under Chabin Concepts as a sub-consultant. Have been working with them for 7 or 8 years. We also brought on Don Sheldall, who is our kind of corporate site selection specialist, to understand, updates what has happened in the last 6 years, and looking through the lens of a corporate site selector to see, what is the value proposition for the city, where are there gaps they can work on, and just to kind of come up with a summary report, because you guys have had a lot of great things going on. Kudos to Bennett and his staff for the growth and all of the investment they brought to the city over the last 6 years. Let's advance by slide. So just understanding the evolution of the development team, the program, again, over the last 6 years or so. 2019, the foundation was established, formalized the economic development group, and kind of started to understand what does it mean to be market ready and to have sites ready to attract investment. Following that, over 2021 to 2023, identified targeted sectors primarily focused on the industrial and the airport industrial park, business retention expansion programs. You brought on Retail Coach to focus on the retail piece, and then engaging with Mojave Community College and other providers in the city and the region. 2023 to now, there's been a strategic alignment in the results. You've been tracking, all these gains, where you've seen efforts with integrated collaboration. There was updates to the plan done internally by the city in 2023. There's been a ton of stuff going on, which has all been pretty fantastic. With that in mind, kind of understanding current strengths, the city is now experienced in the economic development realm. You have networked both locally and regionally, and you have an amazing team. I mean, the fact that you all have 5 economic development staffers for this size of a city is pretty incredible. We work with cities that are as large as 100,000. They don't have a dedicated full-time staff focused on economic development. So kudos to you all for supporting that, and to the council for kind of getting behind that effort. So the focus now is to understand how can we be better positioned for at least the next 5 years. Where can growth be focused? How do we understand and leverage the investments made by the ADOT and others? And then how do you kind of get that message out to show that you're competitive and to separate yourself from some of the other regional players? Do you all have any questions on that? All right. leading forward, just some of the benchmarks you all probably are aware of, but just want to bring your attention. Population growth since 2019, 11%. So there's an expanding market there. Taxable sales since 2024, there's been $1.2 billion, showing strong spending. The traded sector jobs have grown 66%. As you see out at the Airport Industrial Park, there's not a lot of vacancies. With the AMTC coming online, in coordination with the businesses out there, I think you'll continue to see that growth. It's just identifying available lands. The AMTC just opened. That's going to be a great anchor for workforce alignment in coordination with industry attraction. I alluded to the infrastructure investments underway, certainly the interchange improvements, some of the utility expansions with broadband, site readiness. Of course, there's the I-40 trade port corridor, which is probably a longer lead time, but is also something you all want to track because it will put you all on the map. Bennett and his team, they're working on the co-working and entrepreneurship hub, coordinating the SBDC with WAVE and economic development. I think that's going to be a great resource that needs to be promoted. And then looking at kind of the culture and the heritage, the placemaking that's being done by Josh and his team, the historic landmark inventory, the art park, there's funds dedicated to promote and grow that portion of the economy. Just understanding the mission and the goal for kind of what we're looking at. The mission, and as taken from the general plan, activate the land, continue to grow those partnerships and the talent, and the placemaking that draws on Kingman's cultural and heritage assets to build a thriving, inclusive economy and exceptional quality of life. The goal from that is to position Kingman as Northwest Arizona's leading destination for industry, commerce, rich cultural heritage, and promoting kind of the exceptional quality of life, which is all interlinked with arts, historic preservation, and the placemaking that you all have started on. So just identifying what this plan is not. This is not a complete rewrite of the strategic plan. With all of the stuff you all have done and the traction you have, it doesn't make sense to rewrite or to shift course, really. This is not a static or one-time effort. It's going to be evolving with market conditions, opportunities that will come to the forefront, and then with community and council priorities, you'll see shifts there. What we do want to stress is that this plan is a refinement and a focusing tool. Just taking what policies and strategies you have in place, sharpening those, continuing those partnerships and alignment, and just building on that momentum you all have set in place since 2019. One other thing I want to allude to is continuing to position Kingman within the regional and competitive regional landscape as a tier 2 regional hub. That question came up, I think, from one of the commissioners. But it certainly means, I guess, going from tier 3 to tier 2 is that the economy is expanding. You see the population growth. You're considered on the regional scope as more of a key player that is attracting investments and kind of putting your mark on the map. So I think with all the momentum you all have, you're certainly achieving and getting towards that tier 2 regional hub status. We like to look at our analysis as a three-legged stool. You'll see that within the center there, where we're looking at the traded sector, which is primarily stuff you see at the industrial park, where those goods and services are being exported out. That's creating quality jobs. The visitor-driven piece, which is primarily tourism, what Josh is doing. And then the local serving market, that is the retail that's supporting the local economy, where people are shopping and spending their money locally. All those come into play. And I think, you want to have a balance of each of those three to really have a strong, sustainable economy. And then kind of the outer ring, these are all of the, what impact each of those three economic drivers. and looking at key employers, what is their legacy? How long have they been there? Are they growing? But then also understanding what emerging technologies you may want to incubate and to help grow. I'll skip over the rest of the influencers there. And looking at the competitive position evaluation, again, Don, as a corporate site selection specialist, this is the lens that they want to look through to understand what are your strengths, but then what may be some of the constraints that could become opportunities that you could focus on to improve. So certainly the strengths, logistics access, you've got I-40, the future I-11, good rail connectivity, the competitive land costs, in comparison to some of the other major markets, you're certainly seen as more affordable, and that is very attractive. Workforce is growing through MCC, also with WAVE, and then of course the opening of the AMTC. Expanding broadband infrastructure, with ALLO and the other broadband partners escaping me, but that infrastructure is in place and is only going to be seen as an asset to attract investment. And then again, focusing on the economic development team, highly collaborative, been very proactive in responding to, to outside investment, to outside interest, to continue that. The constraints that we see, and I think most of you already understand this, there is a limited inventory of large, ready-to-build sites and buildings. With the potential for the FAA land release, hopefully sooner rather than later, that's going to open up a whole host of inventory that needs to be promoted, but will also need that infrastructure investment. We do understand there are infrastructure gaps at key sites. Those are going to need water, sewer, and power upgrades to really be seen as shovel-ready to attract that outside investment. Workforce shortages, communities of this size and scale are experiencing this, but AMTC is that asset. And in working with the local business community, that should be promoted and fostered. But it is such a key asset to have. Looking at the economic centers and corridors, it includes both the traded sector, which is primarily the airport industrial park, local serving, which is all of the commercial centers across the city, as well as the corridors, and then the visitor-driven piece, which is Route 66, some outdoor recreation opportunities. In looking at the city from the macro level, we see the existing hubs as airport industrial park, certainly North Stockton Hill retail, Kingman Regional Medical Center, that should and could be the focus of kind of a medical district, promoting that, and then downtown in the Route 66 corridor. These key corridor gateways, certainly Flying Fortress, the potential for a South Kingman crossing, opening up those lands, that holds the key to future growth, particularly as it relates to retail, but then also some of the traded sector stuff. There's strong tourism appeal with downtown and the West Beale Gateway. Certainly the centennial of Route 66 coming up next year is going to be a strong tourism draw. With economic centers and the corridors, the constraints, again, we stress the limited available building inventory, the gaps in the corridor connectivity and placemaking. A lot of the commercial centers, they're more piecemeal, the wayfinding and the signage. You don't really feel like you've arrived to a specific center. That can be improved through streetscaping, wayfinding, and signage to unify those areas. And then I also mentioned these high potential sites that particularly will come online after the FAA release. Additional infrastructure needs to be put in place for those to be considered market ready. I've been flying through this. Do you guys have any questions?
I think we're sticking with you.
You guys are great. Okay. Traded sector, I think we've really addressed all this. I guess, leverage the rail and the interstate assets, the transloading facility with Patriot, and then also the I-40, I-11 access for supply chain efficiency. Those coming online are only going to help you both a regional but also kind of a national scope. So I think we need to continue to track those. Local serving, certainly, there's some retail gaps. People are going to other areas for shopping. Need to continue to target second-tier chains and brands that fit the current demographics, but then also understand, what are some anchors or chains that may be a reach, but there may be the opportunity for incentives or something to attract, especially as Kingman Crossing and some of these other larger retail lands become available. I mentioned the healthcare hub as a potential, and then the entrepreneurial finance, continued leadership with the entrepreneur and the co-working hub, building out that space, which is on your radar. Visitor-driven piece, enhancing the Route 66 experience, leveraging the Centennial next year. Josh and his team are doing a great job with that. The opportunity to diversify the lodging, boutique motels, glamping, unique stays. I think as identified in that tourism piece, the tourism conference you all attended, identifying the millennials and the other generational attractors. Expand the destination events. We heard about a Comic-Con event that drew a ton of traffic, leveraging car culture, outdoor rec, and then also what would be seen as seasonal tourism, different seasonalities to create year-round draws. And of course, leverage the cultural heritage that you all have. Continue telling that story and getting that message out. Taking bold action. Kingman's leadership, as we've worked with you since 2019, has always been forward-thinking, understanding where can we be if we lead, invest, and take bold actions. With this leadership model, key successes since 2019, certainly the downtown revitalization, the streetscaping that's gone on, and then you have as a result of that, the First Friday, some of the other planned events has really drawn folks downtown. Certainly the ADOT Flying Fortress interchange, the potential federal land release, the co-working entrepreneurial hub, the AMTC, and then what we've also seen with the public art and historic preservation. Continuing this, boosting competitiveness, strengthening the sites, increasing the infrastructure for some of these sites, and then looking to grow to that tier 2 regional hub status. Activating key centers, continuing to grow the traded sector, supporting local services. Again, that's retail expansion, healthcare, and then working with your local entrepreneurs to help them grow in their businesses. Enhancing the visitor economy, building the destination amenities, increased events and event planning, and then the branding that goes with each of those. That is it. Kind of the theme of connecting people, property, and potential. Bennett and staff have done a great job. I think just continuing the momentum. Where you've grown exponentially over the last 6 years, continuing with that, and all the recent investment only shows that you guys are growing as a regional attractor. All right. Any questions? It was a lot.
I have a question. One of the items that I saw in there, didn't see in there, was lack of workforce housing as one of the constraints. Are you considering that in?
Yes. Definitely. Both the diversity of housing options for affordability, but then also, attracting senior level executives. That is an issue. And that's an issue across the board in the United States right now.
Okay.
I think we do want to stress that, potentially looking at mixed use opportunities downtown or attracting some of the younger folks that would want to live in more of a vibrant downtown setting. That is on our radar, yes.
Okay, I like that. Other comments, commissioners, questions?
Well, I actually had a couple pieces of feedback. I sent them to Bennett. Bennett can forward them on to you.
Great, thank you. I think we saw those, and yeah, good questions.
All right, thank you for taking time to present what to us today. I think many of us have read the backup, and we'll continue to pass on stuff through the economic development team.
Yes, thank you all.
Thanks. All right, we're going to move to item 5, announcements by commission members. Commissioners, we'll go across.
Okay, I have two at the last Airport and Industrial Park Commission meeting. There was quite a discussion on trying to improve the promotion of the airport, which probably has some crossover to other commissions, including this one. Something to think about in the future. Maybe at the next meeting we'll have a discussion.
Do you want to do 5 and 6 together, announcements and requests for future reports at the same time here?
No, but the other thing is, I had, actually, Martha and I were in the tour of the AMTC a few weeks ago, and it's an incredibly impressive facility. It'll provide the kind of advanced training and room to do some interesting projects, to team up with the industrial park, to provide actually training which could bring in people from all over Arizona. It's a great facility, and I hope that we get a YouTube video of it, tour, to put on the website.
All right, thank you. Martha, did you want to go next?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with the commission.
Perfect. Do you have any announcements or requests for future reports?
None from me, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill.
None at this time.
All right. I think that I don't have any announcements at this time, so we are adjourned.